Hello, my name is Katie Walker. I'm an EFT trainer, mentor, and practitioner, and I'm bringing to you my weekly tapping tip. And today I wanted to talk about beliefs, our negative beliefs that can keep us stuck, that can stop us from doing what we really want, and can be problematic in our lives. And I just wanted to briefly talk to you about how we can work with those beliefs through using emotional freedom techniques, tapping, emotional freedom techniques being EFT, plural for a reason, because we have a range of techniques as we use this particular tool. But when I'm using my, or showing you the tapping tips, I'm using one particular technique where we're being really quite specific, unless I tell you something different. So today I was working with our negative beliefs. What I wanted to explain to you is that these beliefs are created through experiences that we have when we are younger, and can show up in different ways. And it's not necessarily a conscious thing, or it might be conscious, but there's a part of us that is still feeling that very strongly. And we can actually create situations to support those negative beliefs. We can sabotage ourselves, and we can avoid situations to keep ourselves safe, even though the belief is not serving us. It's familiar, and we tend to seek evidence when we have these beliefs to support them. And when we can work with what's showing up in the evidence that support these beliefs and shift the stuck energy around that, we can then have very significant shifts in our perspective and our cognition around those particular things. And then opportunities open up, and we can see things very differently, and we can have those moments of compassion for ourselves and go, oh, I see where that came from. And now that I have been able to work on that and shift the energy behind that, I can experience different things. So one that I'm going to work on, and beliefs can be, anything from I'm not worthy, I don't deserve, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I don't belong, all of those things. And then there can be a core belief that is created at a much younger time in life. And then, as I said, these beliefs can then show up in different ways. So, for example, I'm not good enough might be the underlying belief. And in EFT, what we tend to do to explain it is use a metaphor, which is called the tabletop and table legs. So the tabletop is representing the belief or the issue. And then the legs are all those events and experiences that support that particular belief that we held in place. So, for example, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough could have a number of different events around that. And I'm not good enough could have started, and I'm giving you actually one of my own, when I traced this back and used EFT to unpack this one, was actually around 4 years of age when my dad left. And Dad was always in our life, but he and my mum and dad divorced, and he left at 4. And in that moment, excuse me, I made that decision that I'm not good enough, and I've got a frog in my throat. So that's very interesting that this is coming up at that point. So just remaining a little curious with what just showed up. But that belief was formed. I'm not good enough. My dad is leaving, so therefore I'm not good enough. Now, my adult mind and brain and thinking knows that that's not true, because Dad was certainly active in my life, but as a 4-year-old in that moment, that's what was created. And so what has happened throughout my life until I was able to unpack this is that I was putting myself in situations and seeing things through that lens of I'm not good enough. Then I'm not good enough could show up in I'm not good enough in relationships, I'm not good enough in work, I'm not good enough to have a life that I love. There could be a range. So there's a tabletop of I'm not good enough, the events that were created at a younger age. And then we have another tabletop on that tabletop that then can support what the initial belief. So I may have just overcomplicated that a little bit. Apologies if I have. But at the core of this, when we can start to work with some of those patterns that show up as a result of these beliefs, we can then use emotional freedom techniques to work on the events that support the beliefs, to essentially whack down that table. And it doesn't mean that you have to tap on every single event that supports that belief. It could be a number of those that then is what we call a generalization effect. When we tap on some of the bigger events that happen that hold up that particular belief, the others no longer hold the charge, which is really cool because you don't have to go, oh my God, all those times that I have to tap on, it won't be the case. So let me give you an example. And what we tend to do is go, okay, so I've got this belief of I'm not good enough. We will rate that. And normally I do a 0 to 10 rating, but we're going to do it 0 to 100% because this is about a belief system. How true does that feel? A percentage of how true that feels. We try and take the thinking out of it and just really go with the feeling around that. So how do you feel this? How true does this feel for you? So it could be 80% true, I'm not good enough. So we've got 80% belief that I'm not good enough. And then we go, okay, well, give me a recent time when that showed up for you, that you're not good enough. So as an example, it could be last week I was overlooked for a promotion in my job. Okay, so then we would go thinking about that now. So that's one event that's holding up this I'm not good enough belief. One event that we're going to work on, and we're just going to do it very systematically. But for today's tip, we're going to work on that one thing. So thinking about last week when you were overlooked for a promotion, how does it make you feel now? Because we can't take away or change the feeling in that moment, but what we can do is work on what's showing up for you now. So in that moment, it could have been really disappointed. And now it could be anger. It could be sadness. It could be frustration, irritation, or it could just be same old kind of feeling. Like if you don't have an emotion that it's what we would typically state as emotion, and it's just like this blah feeling or this just irritate, something that's showing up that we can't put an emotion to, add feeling to it, and then it's an emotion. But for the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to say disappointed. I feel disappointed thinking that I was overlooked for that promotion last week. 0 to 10 on disappointed, sitting at a 6. Then I say, okay, so I feel disappointed, 6 out of 10. Am I noticing it anywhere in my body? In my stomach. We've got the emotion, we've got it showing up somewhere in the body, in the stomach, and we have the event. And then we need to always make sure that even though we've experienced this, even though we're feeling this, in this moment, there is some sort of acceptance component to that. And normally when I'm doing these tapping tips, I'll say, I still deeply and completely accept myself. In that moment, if you can't say that, if that doesn't really land for you, you might want to say, and that is just how I feel, or I accept that's just where I'm at right now, or that's just how it is. I accept this is just where I'm at. Okay, so this is what it would look like. So our belief is, I'm not good enough. It's sitting at 80%. That's true. I feel that that's 80% true. The first evidence that's showing up to support that belief is last week, I was overlooked for that promotion. So we're just going to work on that one leg of that table, that tabletop. So here we go. Even though I feel disappointed in my stomach, just thinking about last week when I was overlooked for that promotion and my boss said, sorry, you didn't get the job. So just added that little bit of detail. The more specific we can get, the better it is. So just really in that a snapshot in time of what was happening, the who, the when, the where, the what, okay? Even though I feel disappointed thinking about last week, I can still deeply and completely accept myself. Or that's just how I feel at the moment. Even though I feel this disappointment in my stomach, thinking about last week, when I was overlooked for that promotion and my boss said, you didn't get the job, I still deeply and completely accept myself. And even though I feel disappointed in my stomach, just thinking about last week when I was overlooked for that job, that promotion, and my boss said, you didn't get the job, I just feel disappointed. But I can still deeply and completely accept myself. Or in this moment, that's just how I feel. And then we go to the top of the head and we repeat the emotion, this disappointment or disappointed. Side of the eyebrow, side of the eye, feeling disappointed. Under the eye, feeling disappointed. Under the nose, feeling disappointed. Under the lip, feeling disappointed. Collarbone, feeling disappointed. Under the arm, feeling disappointed. And then we come back to the side of the hand. And I check in on that feeling of disappointed. And I rate it 0 to 10. Has it gone up? Has it come down? If it's gone up, it means that the body's just tuning in. Not necessarily a bad thing. It's a good thing that it's just you getting tuned in. The body's tuning in. So if it's come down and it's still disappointed, then you're going to do another round. And, just to think about that situation. And is it perhaps the words, hearing the words come out, the tone of his voice or his or her voice, or the look on his face or her face, whatever the event is, or the experience that you had, really it's a snapshot in time. And what you're vividly seeing in your mind's eye, that is creating that sense of emotion in the here and now. So you would just repeat it. And if it's come down, even though I still have this remaining disappointed feeling in my stomach, or if it's changed location, make sure you're noticing where it is in your body. In my stomach, just thinking about my boss saying, you didn't get the job. I've taken out being overlooked for the promotion, and it's more around, you didn't get the job. I still deeply and completely accept myself. And you just repeat that another 2 times. And then you just go to the top of the head again and you repeat the emotion. Disappointed, 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 disappointed. If you noticed that disappointed turned to anger or sadness, then you just have to go through that process again, 0 to 10 on the emotion. Are you noticing it anywhere in your body? And what specifically are you thinking about from that particular event? If, as you're doing that, the neural pathways might light up, and when we are doing the tapping, we're calming the amygdala. The amygdala is next to the hippocampus, which is our memory center. You might find that the neural pathways do light up and go, oh, it's actually what's showing up for me now is that much younger time when mum or dad said to me, you're not good enough to play sport, or I don't think you should play this particular game. Or it could be a memory from school of when you were made fun of for doing something. So what I'm going to suggest that you do is write that down. And then as you're feeling more comfortable with doing the tapping from these tapping tips, or you might be an experienced EFT tapper anyway, then systematically go through the legs that are holding up that particular belief. And then over time, we want to get that 80%, that belief is true, down, 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 to then be able to see things very differently. Situations that may have just been on the periphery, those opportunities might just start to show up. You might notice that you're leaning into things more. You're open to different opportunities and possibilities. So when we're able to work on those beliefs, we can have some huge, huge inroads and massive impact on the life that we're living and what we're doing and experiencing. And we can really show up doing what we want to do. Now, if you want to find out more, or if there is something that you know is a belief of yours and you're like, done with it, I want to work on this, please reach out and go to my website, www.katiewalkereft.com, or email me at hello@katiewalkereft.com, or just keep watching this video and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Do the belief that you know is there, or what is the main problem or pattern that shows up, the events that are holding up that particular thing, and just systematically work on each of those events. Continually rate, how true does this feel for me, that particular belief, and then just keep coming back and watch this video over and over again, but use your words. I hope this has been useful, and good luck.